You and your friends are coming to the latest information, the most notable current events on the YouTube channel of Nghe An Newspaper, the digital infrastructure of Nghe An Newspaper and radio and television. To know what the program is about today, please follow along below. On October 5, the Prime Minister of Russia, Kobuk, announced that the attack on the presidential palace in Tbilisi the night before was organized by foreign news agencies. According to the head of the Russian government, the attack on the president's birthday was a continuation of the small-scale opposition protests on Rustaveli Avenue that have been going on for more than 300 days. Meanwhile, the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs of Georgia, Alexander Daravulis, announced at a press conference that the police had arrested the organizers of the attack on the president's birthday in Tbilisi on the night of October 4, including Pata, Bulez, Mataza, Jodalava, Iraq, Nadal, Pata, Magalhaes and La Barais, on charges of committing acts of violence aimed at changing the constitutional order, calling for the overthrow of the government, organizing mass violence and participating in these acts. The arrestees could face up to 9 years in prison. On October 4, the day Georgia held a local government election, protests broke out in the capital of China. Protesters broke through the fence of the presidential palace in an attempt to break in, burning the barricades they had set up in anticipation of the president. Police then used elephants and tear gas on the protesters, leading to a clash. 15 police officers and 6 protesters were hospitalized with injuries. Meanwhile, the Central Election Commission of Russia (CC) announced on October 5 that the ruling Georgian Dream Party had won in all 64 local election constituencies after 100% of the votes were counted. Accordingly, with 100% of the votes counted, the Georgian Dream Party received 81.6% of the votes nationwide, and its mayoral candidates won in all constituencies. In the capital Tbilisi, Mr. Kakakal won the mayoral contest with 71.58% of the votes, equivalent to 214,872 votes. The candidate of the opposition parties Power and Kakaria for Georgia, Mr. Irakali Kupra, came second with 12.27% of the votes. The first deputy director of the Georgian State Security Agency La Magraise said that Georgian law enforcement agencies had also seized a large amount of weapons, which were allegedly intended for use in the October 4 protests, from a secret weapons depot discovered near Tbilisi. He said that, based on intelligence information, the state security agency had discovered a large amount of guns, ammunition, explosives, and explosives. According to investigators, a citizen of Georgia had purchased a large amount of weapons. This was proven by numerous evidence. He added that, according to intelligence, sabotage actions using the above weapons were expected to be carried out in parallel with large-scale violence and a plot to seize control of the presidential palace in Tbilisi on October 4. He also said that security personnel neutralized several individuals who were believed to be carrying ammunition and explosives into the center from Bill. The weapons cache was discovered in a forest near BC. Security personnel arrested a man who was installing a remote detonator. This citizen will be wanted. After searching his house, the authorities seized his mobile phone, which contains several videos showing him reporting on the purchase of weapons and explosives. A criminal case has been opened on charges of illegal purchase and possession of explosives. The investigation is underway.
On the evening of October 5, the military news site militani.com reported that Ukrainian UAVs attacked the Lukoil oil refinery in Kastovo in Russia's Kors region, about 800 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Local residents reported the attack on Russia's fourth-largest oil refinery on Telegram channels. They said they heard several explosions near the Lukoil refinery in Kastovo and later shared videos showing flames rising from the site. The extent of the damage is still unknown. The governor of the Nord region confirmed the incident, saying that air defense forces successfully intercepted the attack by 5 drones and that, according to initial information, no casualties or material damage were recorded. The Lukoil oil refinery in Kastovo processes a mixture of crude oil from western Siberia and Tatarstan. Crude oil is supplied via the Amepnyet and Sugut Polos pipelines. Refined products are transported by rail, road, river, and pipeline with an annual processing capacity of 17 million tons. The facility is the fourth-largest refinery in Russia. At the end of 2022, the plant put into operation a new sludge treatment complex, which will increase the amount of Euro 5 compliant diagasin by 1.1 million tons per year. A year earlier, in 2021, the plant also deployed a PEC isomerization system to convert light gasoline fractions into high-octane components, thereby doubling the amount of gasoline to about 800,000 tons per year. The Lukoil refinery in Kastovo is also one of the important suppliers of raw materials for the asphalt and polymer production industry. A June 2025 Ukrainian drone attack on an industrial area near the LCI refinery in Kastovo was seen as the start of a summer offensive on Russia's energy and fuel infrastructure. By the end of September, nearly 40% of Russia's refining capacity had been shut down, largely due to repeated attacks by Ukrainian long-range drones. The following month's attack also hit the adjacent Bamutin-Amsan Plan bitumen emulsion plant, which produces bitumen. It remains unclear whether this facility was the original target or whether the drones missed the refinery. As the Russia-Ukraine conflict enters its third autumn, there are signs that Russia is preparing for a new phase of escalation on the Ukrainian battlefield, according to the Institute for the Study of War, ISW. Russian forces likely stockpiled significant ballistic and cruise missiles in September, preparing for a series of large-scale coordinated drone and missile attacks on Ukraine. ISW analysts said that in late September, Russia conducted missile launches at an unusually high frequency, mainly during nighttime airstrikes, as part of a new tactic to surprise and weaken the Kyiv's air defenses. The ISW report stated, Russian forces appear to be stockpiling ballistic and cruise missiles for several days, then launching a number of them simultaneously in conjunction with drones. This attack may be aimed at overwhelming Ukraine's air defenses. According to ISW estimates, during the entire month of September, Russia carried out only 4 nighttime attacks with more than 10 missiles each and only 1 airstrike exceeding 40 missiles. Although the numbers are not dense, this trend suggests that Moscow is shifting to a combined attack strategy, which involves occasionally launching large-scale combined attacks interspersed with small UAV strikes to maintain constant pressure. ISW further noted that Russian forces tend to use more cruise missiles than ballistic missiles in coordinated attacks. Russia will likely continue to rely on ballistic missiles for precision strikes on strategic targets while utilizing UAVs and cruise missiles to saturate and overload Ukraine's air defenses. It is worth noting that Ukraine's PIOS system remains the only means of effectively intercepting Russian ballistic missiles. According to ISW, this makes Moscow more likely to direct its forces at cities or energy infrastructure outside the Pachios's protection range to increase the ability to penetrate and cause real damage. Previously, the spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force Command, Yuri Anet, also confirmed the changes in the Russian missile models used recently, showing that Moscow is adjusting the structure and frequency of attacks to adapt to the K-air defense network. Notably, while Russia is increasing its missile stockpiles and tactical training, the U.S. has upgraded missiles for the HIMARS system, further enhancing Ukraine's long-range strike capabilities in the coming period, signaling a new round of military technology escalation between the two sides on the battlefield. Russia's shift to combined attack tactics shows that the Kremlin is trying to rebuild its threat model after months of being limited by Ukraine's production capacity and reconnaissance network. Instead of launching a disarming attack, Moscow chose to concentrate its firepower to create a breakthrough, both to distract air defense systems and to try to destroy energy infrastructure targets before winter. This tactic has the color of modern attrition warfare, in which UAV missiles and air defense capabilities become 3 key pillars that shape the battle. If Russia maintains the pace of stockpiling and launching missiles in cycles, Ukraine will face double pressure, both lacking interceptor ammunition and being stretched in its ability to protect cities in the center. On the other hand, the U.S. upgrading HIMARS and accelerating aid for air defense missiles can help balance the situation somewhat. However, Russia's new strategy also reveals something more worrying. The conflict is entering a phase where superiority is no longer measured by captured territory but by firepower and the ability to maintain the pace of attack. With both sides preparing for a fourth winter of fighting, The pre-firestorms that ISW warns could be not only a military strike but also a political message that Moscow still has the capacity to maintain sustained military pressure on Kiev's forces.
Reuters on October 5 cited official figures from the SC Statistics Office, saying that with 99% of the votes counted, the ANO party of former billionaire Prime Minister Andrei Papin was leading with 34.7%, while the center-right Spolo coalition of Prime Minister Bet Fiala was second with 23.2%. With such results, Mr. Papis is expected to replace Mr. Fiala to form a new government. Mr. Fiala congratulated Mr. Papis and admitted defeat. Mr. Fiala is a strong supporter of Ukraine in the conflict with Russia. Immediately after the preliminary results were announced, a reporter from the Suspine Ukraine newspaper asked whether Mr. Bapis would support Ukraine's accession to the EU if he returned to the position of SE Prime Minister. Mr. Bapis said that Ukraine was not ready to join the EU and stressed that the conflict needed to end before talking about EU expansion. This veteran politician served as Prime Minister of the Republic of SH from 2017 to 2021, and during the recent election campaign, he repeatedly affirmed his policy of stopping providing direct aid to Kiev. We are helping Ukraine through the EU. The EU is supporting Ukraine, and this is part of the European budget. We have contributed a lot of money in that budget, and this is how we will continue to support, Bapis said. The ANO leader also expressed skepticism about the initiative to supply ammunition to Ukraine, initiated by President Esbet Bavin. Papis's comments come as Ukraine continues to push ahead with EU accession talks. Kiev was granted candidate status in 2022, months after the conflict with Russia escalated. President Vladimir Zelensky called on EU leaders to speed up the negotiations, saying we need real progress. Meanwhile, Russia, while firmly opposed to Ukraine joining NATO, does not oppose the possibility of the country becoming a member of the EU because the EU is considered an economic bloc, not a military one. Russian President Vladimir Putin said in September that Ukraine had set the goal of joining the EU. I repeat that this is a legitimate choice for Ukraine, the way it wants to build its international relations.